Hi folks, how are you? I hope you can hear me just fine. This is the third time I'm trying to do this video. I mean, over 3 consecutive days. So I know that Mercury retrograde is the transit that makes believers out of non-believers when it comes to astrology, but I'm not the only one. All you have to do is just browse over YouTube and see your favorite practitioners and have them talk about their experiences over the past few days. Past couple of days, I was at least able to get the live video feature working on YouTube, which is what I've been using for months. And today I tried to record this and it said that I didn't meet the eligibility criteria. And it is so classic, whatever they're doing, whatever they're trying to do, people technically everywhere. So the logistical snafus regarding Mercury retrograde, of course, still hold. But I'm being very careful this time to not do just another Mercury retrograde video, because you can find so much information on the standard feel that accompanies a Mercury retrograde cycle on YouTube. When I did my last 2 videos, I said the next video I'm going to do tomorrow is going to be Mercury retrograde. And I've now decided that I'm not going to tell you when I'm doing a video because I can't seem to hold to it. And I really appreciate your sticking with me, but I started doing these videos on Facebook Live, and I would do them every new moon and full moon. And so I would have 2 weeks for a video to kind of bake in the proverbial oven. I would have time to think about things. I would have time to understand the transits. I would somehow subconsciously, once I started to do this, be preparing for videos. And with this Mercury retro, I cannot explain it in any other way other than I know when it's time to do the video. And I think it's better for me to just do that, because then I can give you content that is really perhaps more specific to something you'll get on this channel, in the way that I'm seeing things and experiencing them, and in the way that I feel ready to really transmit my understanding of what is going on and the data that is going on, than just doing a standard video every couple of days, which might drive up my subscribership and might drive up my viewership, but that was never my aim. As much as people who've been trying to advise me career-wise have been trying to say up this and up that, it's really being done out of a sense of sincerity, so I'm going to maintain that. So thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for your patience, okay? I knew what this Mercury retrograde was about, and it made sense to me completely over the weekend. And I said, I've tried to upload this 3 times. The universe was like, here we go. But there are a couple of things related to me being ready with this video that I wanted to share. I really wanted to put this video up on October 25th. And I realized when I was doing the video that that was a great date to do it, because it was the start of a new Mercury cycle. Planets move from Aries to Pisces and then back to Aries again in a linear direction. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and then back to Aries. But certain planets are bodies. I'll just use the word planets loosely. The sun is not a planet, the moon is not a planet, but I'll use it. Most planets tend to go direct and then retrograde, and direct and then go retrograde. The overall movement, however, is through the signs. The nodes of the moon work backwards, so the eclipses go backwards. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra, etc., etc., etc. And there's a real beauty to this, because once you get to know your chart and you know which signs occupy which houses, it's really nice to understand the way the houses and the meanings build upon each other. And then when certain transits actually move backwards, just how extraordinarily meaningful and beautiful, for lack of a better word, that backward motion is with the eclipses. When most planets are trying to move from the 9th house to the 10th house and the 11th, 12th, and the 1st, why would an eclipse move from the 1st to the 12th to the 11th to the 10th to the 9th and then to the 8th and the 7th and then the 6th? Gorgeous. Now, I find it gorgeous, so I practice astrology. You may not find it that gorgeous, but I'm going to mention it to you. The reason why this is relevant is because Mercury, when it goes retrograde in the same family of signs for a few years. So it has been going retrograde in water signs: Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces. And this year, it is making the switch into the air signs. Now, I say this year, it happens over the course of 2 or 3 years. But again, what is interesting about Mercury retrograde is that it goes backwards. If Mercury has been going retrograde in Scorpio, it is now getting ready to go retrograde in Libra. Similarly, Cancer to Gemini, Pisces to Aquarius. Okay? Earlier today, Mercury, which was moving direct and went retrograde on October the 13th or 14th, depending on where you are in Scorpio. Today, October the 27th, has moved back into Libra. November the 3rd, it goes direct in Libra. November the 10th, it moves back into Scorpio. And then I have the dates right here. And then December the 1st, it enters Sagittarius. Now, the Sun entered Scorpio a few days ago. So on October the 25th, the retrograde Mercury met up with the Sun. Now, they don't physically meet up, or else Mercury would just explode, one would imagine, or something, whatever happens when you dive into the Sun. But from where we sit, on October the 25th, the retrograde Mercury and a forward-moving Sun were at the same degree. And of course, Mercury continues to go retrograde into Libra, and the Sun keeps moving forward. The Sun makes its own full moon in Taurus on October 31st and November the 14th, new moon in Scorpio. So we're in what is affectionately known as Scorpio season. When a retrograde Mercury meets up with the Sun, it starts a new Mercury cycle. And this is a new Mercury cycle in the sign of Scorpio. Whatever work is left unfinished from the previous Mercury cycle in the sign of Cancer, extremely relevant because the last solar eclipse that occurred was in the sign of Cancer on June the 21st, 2020. And a solar eclipse casts its influence over the course of the next 6 months at least. So we are still under the influence of the solar eclipse in Cancer, finishing up the Cancer-Capricorn eclipse energies. Solar eclipse in Cancer, lean into Cancer, finish up the work that needs to be done there, whatever you need to lean into and grow, and the skills you need to acquire and the opportunities you need to avail of, so that as the eclipses move into Gemini, you can build on them and release what needs to be released in Capricorn, so that you can continue that release work now in Sagittarius, because the eclipses have moved from Cancer Capricorn to Gemini Sagittarius. I hope you like my interpretive dance movements. You know, just some people are visual, so I guess that's my attempt at trying to satisfy you. Whatever has been left unfinished with the Mercury cycle, and you know what? This is my exhortation to my astrology community to really start to pay more attention to the Mercury cycles. Where's the sign of Scorpio in your chart? What house does it occupy? And what work in terms of communication, contracts, agreements needs to be done wherever Scorpio sits in your chart? And between November the 3rd to November the 10th, between October the 25th and November the 3rd is what I will call the requirements gathering phase. While Mercury is still retrograde, pay attention to what scorpionically, either thematically, enmeshments in relationships, financial ties in relationships, emotional ties in relationships, and also, more importantly, actually, in some ways, more specifically, where Scorpio sits in your chart. It's like a project. You know, it's requirements gathering between October 5th to November the 3rd, November the 3rd to, stay with me here, December the 19th, when a direct Mercury meets up with the Sun in Sagittarius, is implementation phase. December the 19th to January the 30th is what I would call a tweaking phase. I've implemented certain things, what needs to be tweaked. And then Mercury goes retrograde again on January the 30th in Aquarius, and on February the 8th meets up with the Sun again to start a new communication cycle in the sign of Aquarius. So, whatever was done or left unfinished wherever the sign of Cancer sits in your chart, and with Cancerian themes, now gets carried over into Scorpio. In addition, we've been having Mercury retrograde in Scorpio during October, November now for a few years. So there is going to be this sense of, is this all coming back up again? You know, for processing. Remember, with the Mercury retrograde, we think that when we are dealing with some issue, we're going to make a straight line out of it. But really what we do is we spiral out of it. We come back to it. We we get exposed to something that is going to be an area of growth. We do our best during a certain time. We move on to other things, and then we come back to it. And then we try and do our best within that, and then back again and back again and back again. We acquire the skills and the clarity and learn the lessons and incorporate them as we move out of it. It can take years to move out of a certain situation that way. It's not just, I have a problem, I'm going to solve it, and I'm going to shoot right through. It's not unusual for us to attract similar kinds of issues, similar kinds of relationships until we learn what we need to learn, similar kind of relationships, especially when it comes to the sign of Scorpio, and then move out of it. If the sign of Scorpio stands for enmeshments and financial and emotional enmeshments, then the sign of Libra stands for the actual person and the nature of the commitment that we have made with them. And Mercury yesterday moved back into Libra, as I just mentioned. Venus moved into Libra directly from Virgo. So we've got Venus, the ruler of Libra and the planet of relationships, in the sign of relationships, and a retrograde Mercury that has come into Libra from Scorpio. While Mercury was retrograde in Scorpio, October the 13th, 14th to October the 27th, it's very possible that what you were going over was highly charged, perhaps emotional, being processed in an emotional way. Even for some people, a kind of a violent way. Scorpio is a very, certainly an internal way. That's the right word. That's the right word. Scorpio is a sign that is ruled by Mars and Pluto. Both of these are highly active, volatile, emotional planets. And so, in some ways now, Mercury moving back into Libra and Venus moving into Libra enables us to communicate. And while Mercury is retrograde and you're doing requirements gathering, investigate. Remember, with Libra, though, it is iron hand, velvet glove. So there is going to be a sense of, let me just make a few things clear. Now, with Mercury retrograde, listen, you know this. I think most of you know this. It's not the time to start something. And if you're trying to push something through or get something done, there are two warnings, and these are correct warnings. One is you will likely run into delays, and these delays will be either related to transportation and you know, you wait 45 minutes for a bus and then 3 come in. You're late for a meeting. You didn't expect traffic. You thought you left enough time. You know, issues with buses, vehicles, Ubers, Lyfts. If you are an Uber, Lyft driver, issues with the technology that you're using, issues with technology, issues with social media. Second area of confusion can be customer service. You know, bizarre conversations with customer service. Hey, I need another. I counted the number of screws that should be in this bag. It says 12. It should be 11. And customer service is like, screws? There should be no screws. You know, feeling like you're in the twilight zone. Travel, losing baggage, showing up on the wrong day, a week early or a day earlier for a flight when it's a day after, that kind of bizarre, or flights being delayed. Garbled communication, people seeing a rise in COVID and not being able to really accurately decide how they want to start to manage things. As I mentioned to you before, this kind of COVID stuff just increases astrologically till November 11th, if not till December 21st. So we're already seeing that. You've heard about me say this in my previous videos. So there are 2 or 3 areas where you're going to run into trouble or challenges. Technology, cell phones, emails, online stuff, need to get things done. It takes 3 times as long to get things done. And, the customer service aspect, logistical challenges will get in the way of you wanting to get something done quickly and effectively. The other thing is you may choose to do something or get something done that has an initiative behind it, or you're trying to put something in place. But there's every chance or possibility that after Mercury goes direct November the 3rd and gathers some steam, and this year after Mars goes, there's every possibility that by the time you get to November the 22nd or so, you regret what you tried to push between October the 13th and November the 3rd. At the very least, try and wait towards November 5th, 6th, energy clears past November the 15th. The days around November 15th again become kind of gnarly from a relationship perspective. And certainly as we head towards Thanksgiving here in the States, but I would say about November 20th, 22nd, the energy is so much clearer. So much clearer. In many respects, we're in, I know this sounds so strange to say, but it really astrologically is the gnarliest part of 2020. Unbelievable, but true. Can't wait for this election so that at least we know where we're landing, and then that will take a certain amount of time to settle through as well. Okay, now what it is time for, actually, is waiting for the mud to clear. Or, it's like a glass of water, a basin of water that is dirty or silty or muddy, and you want to wait for the mud to clear and see what emerges. Great time for observing. If you have to act, it could be a great time for reviewing. Hey, can I just make sure, can I ask you this question? Is this how this happens? Is this my understanding? Is this what happened at such and such time? Can I get clear? Remember, Mercury, the planet of communication and cognition, your mind trying to get a sense of what is actually going on, went direct, decided it would go over this terrain once again when it's retrograde, which is what it's doing now, and then will go direct over part of this terrain, all of this terrain indeed, once after it goes direct again. So it's going to, a certain part of your chart is going to get Mercury's attention 3 times. And while it's retrograde, the best possible use and most active, even though it's a very yin time, the most active use of a retrograde cycle is to review, confirm, process, not, I'm going to get this done and put this in place, because chances are what you try and put in place now, you will regret. You don't have all the information. You just don't have all the information. Or the processing and the details are not as clean and clear. So it's a great time to review something again, to really check in, to look at the details. Now, what were the epiphanies and clarity that I got on Sunday? They're threefold. The title of this video is going to be Cease and Desist. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because that'll make sense. And of course it's getting darker, but I'm determined to do this, and I'm not doing this live, and I'm recording this on my iPhone, and let's see how long it takes before social technology, whatever. Let's just hope that I'm able to do this. The image that I have and the way this Mercury retrograde feels is as if we are on a train, and it's not that the train is moving precipitously somewhere or it's like a roller coaster that's moving downhill, but we are on a train that has been moving on a set of tracks for a while. The brakes have failed. We can't stop this train, and we have just surrendered, and we're going to let this train either slow down and come to a halt on its own, or we're going to let it crash into something. Now, I don't get a sense that what we're on is some sort of unwieldy, highly damaging, highly violent descent. What I do get a sense of is that we are done with something, that we are done with a certain way of being. Remember, we are finishing up the Scorpio Mercury retrogrades, and when we come to the end of a cycle astrologically, Saturn leaving a sign, the last of the Mercury retrogrades in a sign, everything takes on a greater sense of urgency and moves towards completion. Mercury is not going to be retrograde in Scorpio for a while. So now that it's getting done, it's like, let's get this done. And this train that we've been on, probably a relationship train and probably an enmeshments train, intense relationship issues train, whether it's with a spouse or a partner, a family member, a friend, wherever that sits, is going to want completion. But there's something about this, you can't complete it and sort it out on its own. So some part of us is on this train. It's just like, you know what, I'm just going to let this come to an end. Now that doesn't mean that we are not acting. So politically, it doesn't mean that we don't go out and vote. We do. But there's an element of, with the astrology of this time, with Mars and Mercury retrograde and Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto direct in Capricorn and getting ready to conjunct. Man, there's so much we can control, and there's so much that is fated and necessary and needs to be completed. So it's like we are on a train, there are no brakes, there are no handbrakes, there's nothing we can do. We're just going to ride this out. And once the train has stopped or crashed into something or whatever it is, we're going to get off of it, dust ourselves up, and call that Uber or get on the next train or figure out what to do or ride a horse to the next station or whatever is going to work for you. The most applicable example of this Mercury retrograde and the way we're feeling about it came from there's a Broadway singer named Betty Buckley. Some of you may know of her, some may not. I have a feeling that she may not really, however it is that she would choose to describe herself. Actor, singer, performer extraordinaire, Tony winner, I would imagine, all sorts of things. And there was a communication I saw. It appears that the Trump campaign has been using her recording of Memory from Cats. And her communication, I don't remember it verbatim, but I was just like, this is so Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. And it is so symbolic and emblematic at how we are all feeling right now. It was a stop using my song, and it was not worded rudely it was very clear and firm, kind of stop doing this. But it didn't end there. It had and you are the worst possible person for the arts kind of finish. So we're at this point. Remember, it's Scorpio, the sting, Mars, relationships, enmeshments. So it was a cease and desist. Stop doing this. And by the way, you suck. And what was so interesting about it was that it was clear that we're in such a place with this train that is rolling on and we're just releasing it and we're letting it go, is that we're in this place where it's not just enough to say, I'd like you to stop. We're in a place where we're so complete with something that we want to say, I'd like you to stop. And by the way, let me just tell you what I really think about you. It just has this finality to it. It just has this, and by the time you get to that point of processing and being done with this train that you have been on with these Mercury retrograde cycles in Scorpio that have shown up October, November for a few years, you're just like, I can control so much, I can end so much. This train has just it's coming to a stop. You know that it is coming to a stop, but you don't have control over it. So you're gonna have to let it get to that point. Okay? If all of this feels like it somehow rings true, because Scorpio, an astrologer once said to me, and I think he was absolutely right, no matter how you cut it, Scorpio is a rough sign. It's a beautiful sign. But it's a rough sign. We enter into our enmeshments either in karmic ways or fated ways or willingly, only to find that issues related to independence and codependency are so complex, so complicated between parent and child, spouses, siblings, you name it, in the work environment, that the entanglement and disentanglement and who am I and who are we and all that kind of stuff. And these are issues with these Mercury retrogrades, that there's something here that we need to spiral out of, we need to grow out of. And it's the last of these cycles. And this year, with Mercury sharing the retrograde between Scorpio and Libra, there's a focus not only on the enmeshment issues and the discovery or re-entering the murky waters between October the 13th and October the 27th, but now between October 27th and November the 10th, with November the 3rd being when Mercury goes direct, our focus is on the individual or individuals that we are in relationship with. There's a shift. We are driven less by reaction, and we are driven now more towards communication, using communication to investigate between now and November 3rd, and then between November 3rd and November 10th, using communication perhaps to establish some kind of clarity, boundaries, agreements, solutions, one would hope. We'll take it from there. Let me see if there's anything else. Here's a question for you. What needs to be released? What needs to be released? What needs to be released? It's so thematically important at this point of time in the year. And this Mercury retrograde, what needs to be finished? This train is going to come to a halt on its own. What do you need to kind of surrender and release? Now, surrender and release, as I said, does not mean you're not taking action. The action you're taking is one, a review. There's plenty going on in Scorpio with the sun in Scorpio and then the new moon in Scorpio and then Mercury in Scorpio between November the 10th and the end of December and then Venus coming into Scorpio at the end of the year, that this place of investments is going to get a lot of attention. In addition, let me warn you, Venus is now in Libra, Mercury is retrograde in Libra. Typically transits in Libra, typically, for the most part, might be welcome. This year, Libra is charged up because it opposes Mars in Aries and Chiron in Aries and squares the 3 planets in Capricorn. So by the time you get to the middle of November, there's gonna be some relationship. Crap is gonna be hitting the fan. So let the train just do its thing, and if you're feeling like you're done with it, you can't wait for it to stop, you are no longer in a place with this Mercury retrograde where you are trying to get it to stop. You are just at a place where you're like, okay, can't do anything about this, we're going to wait for this puppy to crash. A lot of the energy, because it's a question of what needs to be released, is an energy of what I call cease and desist. Stop it. Stop this behavior. That kind of, I'm done, this train is coming to a crash, there's so much that is not in control. You will think that you have certain things in control, and you have no idea. With Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn where they aren't going direct, and the eclipses the way they're working out, and I mean, there are times astrologically when you can really feel spirit working. And if your intentions are not clean and clear and open and transparent, you will be surprised. You will be surprised by how, as an astrologer, I constantly am. I'm constantly surprised by what we commonly call karma. But by this idea, and this is very Scorpionic what I'm going to say, God lives in the truth. And God, aka the truth, will be revealed. So the entire purpose of Scorpio, in a certain sense, is to get to the truth in a relationship. And that's a very uncomfortable process. And this is Mercury retrograde and Scorpio moving into Libra. The relationship and the enmeshments and the individuals and the nature of the agreements involved. Sure. Okay, let me see. Is there anything else? I think I've covered a lot of anything that you're trying to push through and get through in terms of completion that does not have review is going to take a lot of effort, guys. So just see what that looks like. Heck, even doing an astrology video. I mean, practically you're at a point where you can see half my face in light and half in dark. I'm quite enjoying this, and I'm just thrilled that I can get it done. Let's see how long it takes to upload this. We're done. That's all I'm going to say. There will always be new videos coming. I am not going to tell you when the next ones are going to be coming. Thank you for your patronage. And I have really, when I let something bake, I really love what I do, and it becomes really just so enjoyable and so meaningful, and this video has been one of those. Feel free to like the video, share it with people if you find it useful, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I do new videos. My contact information is in the subject area description below once I'm done processing this video. And you can get in touch with me at that email address to inquire about rates for a reading, or I can make you an easy-to-read version of your birth chart. You will need to know your birth time for that, but do not share your birth time with me until you're comfortable with my rates. Then you can share whatever you want as long as you're good with that, okay? If you don't have your birth time, see if you can get access to it. Birth certificates, or talking to parents, or doing a little bit of research, or I'll leave you to it. That would be kind of a Mercury retrograde and Scorpio thing to kind of get to the bottom of stuff like that. Lots going on astrologically, guys. Try to hang in there till the middle. Well, you need to hang in there, okay? Till the middle of November, till November 20th, 22nd. After November the 13th, I've told you, I mean, it is this right now feeling like everything is up in the air, nothing is going anywhere, nothing's getting done, and we're dealing with past crap. After the middle of November into the beginning of January, wow, all systems go. Okay, till the next video.